Hi, shalom, everyone. I'm going to continue the series of Daf Yomi. Friends, we're on page 56 over here on Masechet Zevachim, making fantastic progress. Now, we learn in today's page of the Gemara, Rabbi Yitzchak bar Avudimi says, from where is derived that the blood becomes disqualified at sunset time period, as it's stated, but if the sacrifice of his offering be a vow or a gift offering, it shall be eaten on the day that a sacrifice is offering and on the morrow over here. That's what we learned about, I believe, in Parshat Tzav on chapter 7, verse 16. Now, this means that on the day that you do the shechting, the slaughtering, your sacrifice, on the day that you do not slaughter, you may not sacrifice it. That's what we learn. Now, at first glance, let's just say, the verse Rav Yitzchak bar Avudimi is citing appears to be simply teaching a rule about restrictions on how long one can eat an offering after it's been sacrificed. However, he notes the phrase, on the day that he sacrificed offering, it juxtaposes two terms. Hikrivot, that's a sacrifice, and offerings, which is zivchot naturally. So that very interesting juxtaposition in of itself. So now the former refers to the entire ritual process surrounding offerings, and the latter, now in this case at least, literally refers to the act of slaughter. This implies, according to Rabbi Yitzchak bar Abudimi, that these two actions must happen on the same day. So if let's say a person is offering disqualified, now the Gemara is going to challenge, let's say, this derivation in of itself, but he requires this for himself. So the Gemara's challenges that this verse is not available for further exegesis because it's needed to teach a ruling that a peace offering can only be eaten on the day of its slaughtering and the day after. Since that verse is already the source of a law, it can't also be used to derive the second law. Now the Gemara is actually going to dismiss this challenge at this point in time. So if so, let the verse state, on the day he slaughters, it shall be eaten. Why do I need that he sacrifices it? It concludes from this that on the day that you slaughter, you sacrifice, but on a day that you do not slaughter, you do not sacrifice. We don't need this pasuk to mention both slaughter and sacrifice. If it was only coming to teach us about the time limit for consumption, mention of the shechting, the slaughtering alone, would be enough. Now, therefore, the extraneous term that he sacrifices is available to teach an additional rule, that the sacrificial process must happen on the same day as it is shechted. That's what we learn about. Now the Gemara is going to proceed and progress over here to question its own proof. Perhaps the mentions of sacrifice isn't extraneous at all, you could say, but it's coming to teach us that the time frame for eating a korban, a sacrifice, is dependent not on the day itself when it's slaughtered, but the day when it's offered on the mizbeach, on the altar, with the requisite placements of blood. But the Gemara is going to also dismiss, at this point in time, this too with similar logic. If the verse intended to teach that the timeline for eating an offering is dependent on the time of its slaughtering, it didn't need, you could say, to mention sacrifice. And if it was coming to teach that the consumption time is actually dependent on the time of the sacrifice, it didn't need to mention slaughter. Either way, the verse still has an extraneous element. The conversation, I think, will conclude in favor of Rav Yitzchak bar Avdumi, and the inclusion of both these terms in this specific verse itself teaches that both the shechting and the sacrifice of an animal must happen on the same day. So I heard this, I think, from my Jewish Learning website. A very, very interesting insight in great detail. Please watch over every single day. We're recording fantastic content on the daily page of the Gemara and making fantastic progress at the moment. So please, friends, enjoy just at the mall at the moment here in the city of Shemesh, and just getting ready to do Shabbat shopping at the moment. So nothing like being in Israel, enjoying, soaking up, and so on and so forth. So I think it's a good time to wish you all a Shabbat Shalom Barach, and take care and be well. Thanks for watching, everyone.